What's happening there, everybody? Brandon here, coming to you today from the shop, and it is that time of year again for me to get involved in some projects around the holiday season. And so in this video we're going to take a look at my process for painting these little snowman ornaments that I do on these little small canvases here. So let's have a look at that now. Alright, so what I have here are a little pack of 2 by 4 inch mini canvas panels. So there's 6 of these little mini canvas panels in each pack. And I basically set up myself a little assembly line of these things to paint multiple at once, just so you know that I'm doing numerous of these at one time. But at any rate, I basically just use these things for a variety of different little scenes of Christmas related things to make Christmas ornaments out of them, and I'll ultimately just poke a couple holes in here and attach a little cord or string to it so you can hang it on a tree. These particular ones I'm going to do this time are going to be of a little simple snowman that I do with different colored scarves on them. And so let's get started with that. Now I'm working here with a 3/4 inch wash brush, flat wash brush, but you can use whatever you want to get some coverage on here with. And I like to start with putting a simple background in here. It's going to be obviously a winter scene because I'm doing a snowman. My background is just going to be an out of focus, distant kind of tree line that's maybe snow covered. So I'm just going into some raw umber and a little bit of sap green as well, and then drop some titanium white in it to lighten that up a little bit. And you don't have to totally mix that color up. You can leave it a little bit unmixed, and then I just come in here and get that color on the canvas by blotching it, spotting it in here to create that distant tree line look. And I will vary my intensities of darks and lights here on different passes just to break up the monotony. Maybe I'll add in a touch of titanium black in it with this pass, as well as a more white. Gray it out a little bit. And then with the last pass on here, I will basically go into just titanium white onto that mix and touch in some stuff that would be a little more of an indication of some snow covered limbs back there. But I want to keep most of this pretty soft, so I'm going to knock down the intensity of that. And that's all I'm really looking for. So I'm going to do that across all 3 of these, or all 4 of these I should say. Now that I've got my kind of snowy tree background laid in place on these, I'm going to come in here on the bottom and put in my background for my snow itself. So I'm going to go into some Pthalo Blue now and mix in a little bit of raw umber to that to gray it up a little bit, and then some titanium white in it to get me basically a shadowed snow color. And I'm testing it to see what that is. I need a little more blue in that. That's pretty good for me. And I'm just going to drop that in right here along the bottom. Once I have my ground layer of snow color laid in there that I'll be highlighting over, I'm going to come into that same color essentially to put in my initial shapes of my snowman. So again, this is Pthalo Blue, a tad bit of raw umber just to gray it out a little bit, and then some titanium white. And all I'm trying to do here is create my basic snowman shape. So I'm going to come in and define out exactly where he's going to be sitting. Basically like that. Do that on all of these, or if you're just making one or whatever you're doing, that's fine as well. But again, we're going to come back in and highlight over all this. So I'm just looking for a base shadow color in the shape of whatever my snowman is going to be. Something like that. And you can see obviously I've got a little bit of variety going on here, which I like that. I don't like them all looking exactly the same obviously, but we want them to all be unique in terms of these ornaments that I'm going to be doing. Next thing I'm going to do is put in my basic snow highlights for the ground down there. So this is a matter of just going into more titanium white now on this mix that I've got on the end of my brush. And then I come in here and I kind of use some horizontal looking brush strokes, but I also don't want uniformity at all here, so I'm touching it and tapping it and keeping some of that stuff, keeping some of that dark in there. And then as the brush kind of loses the paint, I'll move off to the distance there, where the farthest away I just kind of keep that initial dark color I laid in. And so again, I'll get a little bit more white on that brush. Start here in the foreground with the brightest white. Kind of tap it and touch it a little bit, creating some shadows here in the foreground. And then kind of flatten out my brush strokes a little bit as I go further away. And then as the brush loses paint, just kind of ever so slightly move into the distance with it. And so you're left with a basic ground of snow. Now I'm going to make a quick decision on which direction my light source is coming from. So I'm just going to say for all these, my light source is going to be coming from the right side, so it'll be shadowed mostly on that left edge. I will go back to that initial shadow color that we laid in our snow originally with, and maybe extend a little bit of a shadow from the base of that snowman out off the left side. We'll give him a little shadow there on the ground. And then we'll start working our highlights in from the right side. So I'm going to now start adding a little titanium white to that color mix there that we did our snowman with. to brighten it up just a little bit and start on that right side and just tap in a little bit brighter color than what I've got. So again, I've just added a little bit of white to this mix. And I'm not looking for uniformity or full coverage here at this point. And I'm going to carry that about 3/4 of the way over towards the left-hand side. That I'm going to leave the left-hand side the most shadowed. And then I will continue to brighten my mix up, so add a little bit more titanium white to the mix again and start from the right edge. And now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, something like a 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch angled brush or a flat brush, or it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, something that you can get smaller with, and continue this process, adding a little more white to the mix each time. And brighten it up on the edge that you're saying your light source is coming from on each pass. And again, I'm just tapping it and touching it here to give us this impression that we've got packed snow in here that's got all kinds of little irregularities to it. And so again, I used my larger wash brush and I added a little titanium white to the shadowy snow mix color I'd been using and carried it about 2/3 of the way, or 3/4 of the way across from the right to left. And then I'll go back to the smaller brush again and lighten everything up on the right side where my light source is coming from, and just kind of tap and move that brush to create those packed snow looking details in there. And as that brush starts to lose paint, I can work it further back to the left edge. Now the last thing I'm going to do with my little small angled brush here before I move to a liner brush to finish this out, I'm going to put the scarves on these things. And you can do all kinds of colors here to do whatever you want. So for Christmas ornaments, a lot of them I'll put red on there. Some of them I'll put blue. But I also, one thing I will share with you that works well for me around here in terms of selling these things is do team colors. So, you know, favorite area football teams, maybe college or pro teams or whatever you want to do. So here in the upstate of South Carolina, we're rather fond of our Clemson Tiger football team in college. And so Clemson colors being orange and purple and white. The orange and purple scarves on these guys works pretty good for selling ornaments. So I'm going to come in on the left side that is the most shaded with a little bit of a darker orange, which is just a mix of basically yellow ochre and medium red. So it's going to be in the shade on that back side, and I'm going to touch that color in, bring it about halfway across. And then the other color that we're going to use here for Clemson's football team obviously is a purple, so I'm going to run a dark purple, which is mostly going to be a Pthalo Blue medium red mix. And again, I'm going to bring the dark shade of it over here from the left side. So I'm doing a two-toned, basically making it look like Snowman here has got two scarves stuck one on top of the other. And then maybe he drops a piece from both of them down in front. So I need to get a little bit more red on that. It was too much blue. We'll use that dark color and then highlight on top of it. We'll have a piece of purple coming down and a piece of orange coming down on each one of these as well. Now I'm going to bring in a cadmium orange from the right side where our light source is coming in. And then kind of as the brush again loses some of that paint, work it into the shaded orange value that was already there. And drop down a piece of that orange in the front. Then I'll do the same thing with our purple. I'll bring in a light purple value here from the right side where our light source is coming in. And then make sure we highlight over the top of our dark piece there that we brought down as well. And so this is going to give us the team colors that I'm looking for on this particular set. Now obviously I'm going to do a variety of different team colors here, but for this video I'm just turning out some of these purple and orange Clemson ones that I'm going to do because again, in my area these are a pretty popular item. Now you don't have to do obviously team colors on these things. You can do whatever color you want. Like I said, red is another pretty popular Christmas color to have on a snowman scarf, but greens and blues are also pretty popular. So if you're doing a different color scarf, just put your darker shaded value of that color on the side that's opposite your light source, and then brighten up the side where your light is coming from, and then you can kind of blend and fade those together to wherever you're happy with the end result there. And then our snowmen have got scarves on them. Now the last thing I'm going to do is come in with I'm going to use a little small 5/0 spotter brush here, and we want to drop in, I'm going to do a bit of a carrot style nose, so I'm going to go into that darker orange mix that I had of yellow ochre and medium red to drop in a kind of a dark orange value of what will be a carrot nose that I will highlight on one side of here. And I'm just putting a little of an indication of a triangular shaped thing moving to an angle to one side. It doesn't have to be anything specific. People's imaginations will fill in the rest if that's what this is. Then back to my cadmium orange here, I'll put just a little bit of a brighter orange highlight on the side that the light source is coming from. Doesn't need to be a lot, just needs to be enough to communicate what we're trying to do. Just leave a little bit of dark on the left side of it if that's what you're doing like I am, to show that there's an object there that's catching the light on one side, shaded on the other. And then I'm going to throw a couple of eyes in here. I'm just going to mix up some raw umber with a little bit of black in it. Touch in a couple of eyes because these could be pieces of coal someone shoved in there to make this. Could be, who knows what it is they've thrown in there to make their eyes on their snowman. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Could be an acorn, who knows, something they found on the ground. And you know, you can make different shaped eyes here. We'll make some of these a little bit more round, some of them a little flatter, give them a little character. Now for the couple of buttons in the front, I'm just going to go straight into black and put a couple of things here in the middle. Again, who knows what the person making these snowmen were using for these things. It doesn't really matter. I'll put 3 little dots in there. And I guess we'll give them some arms too. I'm gonna go into more black with a little bit of the raw umber in here to draw in some little stick arms hanging out there. Put just a little dark something in there to give us a starting point. And then we can come back in and drop a little highlight in wherever we want. The little arm on the left side is going to mostly be in the shade. We're not going to highlight it out as much. On the one on the right, I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white to that mix, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. Come right over the top edge of this stick that's hanging out the right side here. Just a little highlight. Not going to get too crazy with this or carried away with that. I guess we need to put a mouth in there. I'm going to throw in just kind of a simplistic, like maybe somebody took a stick and poked it in for a mouth. We'll give it a little bit of an idea of a smile in there. And again, these are all slightly different, so each one's going to be unique. And I'm going to say that these snowmen here are done. I'm going to let them dry a little bit, and then we'll pop the holes in there and put the cords in them to officially turn them into ornaments. Alright, I popped a little signature on each one of these, and once I am done to complete the process here, I just pop a couple of holes in here, and I just use a little drill motor to do it, but you can do it with whatever method you want. Alright, once I have my holes in place there, I get me a piece of string here that's color matching to the scarf. So in this case, I'm going to go with an orange one here to match. And I start by running it through on the front side. Pull it around and then run it back out. And then I just put a simple overhand knot in this. And then I have a completed ornament that will hang it nice on the tree there where you can see the painting very well. So I hope you guys enjoyed following along with that one. Maybe you got something that you're happy with there, or a good idea for a Christmas ornament that you can paint. Until next time, happy painting, everybody.